So here's something I bet you didn't know. They're making a video game version of Apocalypse Now.
I want a mission.
Pick up first. And your mission is to see up the known river and cave or whatever it is. Pick up first and determine the
So I found out about this and I was immediately fascinated. And apparently it's not the first time they've tried to do it. And by they, I mean these guys. Montgomery Markman formed Killspace in 2009 as an effort to get this project off the ground. They made some headway, but through either bad luck or bad management, I can't really tell which. Killspace fell through after making one game, and Markman was down and out for a bit. Now they're back, and teamed up with some of the head honchos from Fallout New Vegas, and they're taking a second jab at Apocalypse Now. So, how are they doing this time around? Well, let's go ahead and see what we find. So they had a Kickstarter, but it got canceled in order to bring funding to their own website, and their own website is apocalypsenow.com. Wow. I'm amazed they got that. Not like they didn't have to add any like extra words or numbers or anything. That's good on them. So the headline, we'll get back to that. Okay, so I'm looking at this site on April 15th, and it looks like they're pretty active. The most recent update was like 10 days ago. They've got stuff about the game. It's in first person. There's character building. So it's basically like Fallout. That makes sense given the guys in charge. They got a big ol' FAQ and answers really just about any question I can think of. Francis Ford Coppola's all in on the project too. That's pretty cool. What else? Oh, not Call of Duty. That's good. So maybe I'm a little too skeptical, but I'm kind of curious about it's like Fallout New Vegas on acid in Vietnam. I don't know. I'm curious to see how that will mesh with everything else. Let me explain why. Apocalypse Now is hugely inspired by Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. The plot of both are nearly identical. Guy hears about this one dude who used to be cool but now isn't. Now he's got to take a crew and go get him to see a bunch of not cool stuff along the way. Guy finds the dude and he likes it here, and eventually when he gets him to leave, he's like, nah, and dies. And there's also all this stuff about human nature and how the horrors of war and violence is like a vicious cycle, and that there's a duality between civilization and pure savagery, and the two can't really coexist. Either savagery gets swept under the rug or civilization breaks down under the pressure. This is a powerful story that conveys things like PTSD and how we perceive all these faraway horror stories, but really they're right here under their noses, and we're just willingly turning a blind eye. So from what I've been able to find, there's only 2 games that really tackle this story in interactive form. Far Cry 2 and Spec Ops: The Line, and they go 2 pretty different ways about it. Far Cry 2 is probably the game that Apocalypse Now will have most in common when it eventually comes out. It's an open-world FPS that has you just trying to survive in a harsh patch of African land. You can do whatever you want, but the game is relentlessly hostile, and eventually you do have to get efficient at killing, even if it means bad news for your buddies. I know it's got something to do with Heart of Darkness because A, they say so, and B, there's a part in the game called Heart of Darkness. Spec Ops: The Line also makes the player experience Heart of Darkness firsthand, but does it in a third-person perspective, and also does it in modern-day Dubai. The guy goes in to get the dude, sees some not cool stuff along the way, finds the dude, and the ending depends on what you do from there. But it's kind of the same idea. The dude you're looking for is already dead, metaphorically speaking. You can either stay in the vicious cycle, or go home and try to deny it. This game in particular really hits the nail on the head. It sticks to the themes of the book to the point of not even being that fun. You do these like not cool things, and the game makes you feel bad for it. I highly recommend it. I bring up all that stuff to illustrate the place that Apocalypse Now will have in this lineage of stories that goes all the way back to like Homer's Odyssey. This is an especially tough one in a video game because games are always under the scrutiny that if they're not fun, they're somehow not worthwhile. This is also following directly in the footsteps of that one movie that I can't remember the title of right now. There's a lot of stuff here. I don't think there's any need to talk about whether or not the game is any good, because, check my clock, we've got about 3.5 years before the game comes out. But I think what is worth talking about until then is just what place this game will have as far as the works it's based on. They're claiming that the narrative is what you make of it. At least,
till you reach Kurtz.
What's more interesting than the potential quality of the game is just the potential ramifications of that statement. Like, How much can the story change? What's the benefit or the drawback to it? Is this the Silent Hill type of different endings where it's thematically the same but subtle variations? Or are we going the way of New Vegas and basically having several games in one?
At the time of its release, I wanted Apocalypse Now to be an immersive movie. Vietnam was a very strange and horrific place, and I wanted to vividly take you through its war. If you experience this game, perhaps it'll have the same effect on you.